I'm really happy to see all of you. I've been invited to give the next talk because I'm a Hayek super fan. So this year, as many of you already know, we're celebrating two big Hayek anniversaries. There's the 80th anniversary of the publication of The Road to Serfdom and the 50th anniversary of Hayek's Nobel Prize. And that's important to those of us in this room because Hayek really is the intellectual father of this entire freedom movement. In 1944, when Hayek wrote and published The Road to Serfdom, war was still raging in Europe, and Hayek wrote it as a warning that the central planning that the Allies were engaging in could lead them to the loss of freedoms that they were fighting to protect. Now, a year later, the Reader's Digest published a condensed version of The Road to Serfdom, and that found its way to a young Royal Air Force pilot named Anthony Fisher. He read this, and the message really landed with Fisher. He grew up without a father. His father had been killed by a sniper's bullet in World War I, and then just 5 years before, he had seen his beloved younger brother Basil killed when his Hurricane was shot down in the Battle of Britain, where they were both pilots fighting the invading, the bombers. So for Anthony Fisher, freedom was not just words on a page. It was defending it was personal. Now, many of us knew Anthony Fisher's daughter, Linda Whetstone. I was privileged, like many of you, to call her a mentor. She understood her father's driving force, that watching the freedom slip away in peacetime that both her grandfather and father had fought for was worth defending to her father. So at the time, Hayek was working at the LSE in 1945, and Anthony Fisher tracked him down and came to him impassioned and said, "I read your book. I want to fight for these ideas. I'm going to go into politics." And he was surprised because Hayek told Fisher, "Don't go into politics. If you want to change society, you have to change the ideas that shape it." And he suggested starting something like the Fabian Society. Fisher took Hayek's advice, and a decade later, after he had been a successful businessman and made some money, he founded the Institute of Economic Affairs in London, which was the UK's first free market think tank. And at a time when government planning was pervasive and seemed the only way forward, the IEA was challenging that and suggesting that, we really need to have free markets. So that was considered pretty fringe. And the impact wasn't immediate, but it was profound. A lot of people were coming into the IEA, and one of those people was Margaret Thatcher. And when she emerged as a political force in the 1970s, she famously took a copy of Hayek's Constitution of Liberty, his later thicker book, and she pulled it out of her handbag and she slammed it on the table and she told her colleagues, "This is what we believe in." So ideas that had once been fringe went to become the foundation that took Britain from, a declining economic power to renewed prosperity. 50 years ago, 30 years later, in 1974, Hayek received the Nobel Prize. And in that time, in his speech, he warned about the pretense of knowledge. He said, even the brightest experts don't have enough knowledge to central plan an economy. Anthony Fisher took this message global. He helped create think tanks worldwide, culminating with us here in this room today, the Atlas Network, and connects the champions of freedom from around the world. Today's world would astound Hayek. The population has doubled. 8 billion people, instant global communication, artificial intelligence, but we're still facing the same danger, that the belief that powerful computers and big data, now we can do central planning. The tools may be new, but the fundamental problem remains. Hayek understood something profound. Societies thrive not through central control, but when people are free to use their own knowledge and abilities to build meaningful lives. True human flourishing, the ability to create, to build communities, to pursue our dreams while respecting others' rights, comes from freedom, not force. So 80 years after The Road to Serfdom, Hayek's message resonates more than ever. The power of ideas has changed the world before, and through your work, it will do so again. Thank you.